In a previous video, I looked at what I called the math check, having the user enter a 3-digit number and then concatenating it with itself, dividing by 13, 11, and then 7, and then getting back the original number. So let's have a quick peek at what we had previously. I have the live server extension, open up, here's the number. And we can do this concatenating in various divisions. And if we change the number, everything starts again, and we control the enabling of the buttons and so on. But here is this, up here, this box the user types in is an input of the number type, and they can, if they use the up-down arrows because of the min and the max applied, we will stick within the range between 100 and 999. But if the person is typing, they can type things like with decimal places, minus signs, and so on. So they can enter things that are not in the desired range if they're typing. So it controls it if they're using these sort of up-down arrows, but it's not controlling it in the same way if they're typing. So one thing we want to do is just in this version, add a little test to say that if num is less than 100, then we're going to yell alert, please enter number 100 and 999, and then get out. Don't do anything else if that is not right. So this is if the number was lower. 98 is, and it yells, and we don't do anything else. And I'm going to copy that. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to copy and paste, and then I want to do the other question. If it's greater than 999, also yell. And there's a different way to do that, where there's one question, one more sophisticated question instead of two questions. These are intro lectures, so we'll save that for another day. So now we have it fixed if it is too big. Okay. But we want to do this controlling in a different way to have the user enter the number. So here is the input of the number type where the user is either using the up-down arrows or typing. And this is what we would like to change. And I'm going to use it as a way to introduce the idea, the element of a select, where you as a coder, as a designer, provide like explicitly, here are the choices you are allowed to make. So one thing I could do is have a single select and then have all of the choices, all of the options of between 0 and 999. I don't want to do that. I'm going to have instead 3 selects and sort of deal with each digit of the number. It's a 3-digit number. Deal with each digit of the number individually. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of this number input. And instead of just deleting it, I want to save, but I also want to do a save as, and I want to give this a new name. I want to keep that previous version as is. And then I want to get rid of this input. And so what I did there was created this is an HTML comment. I'm in HTML right here. Down here is the JavaScript, but up here I'm in HTML. And so I use an HTML comment, and a comment doesn't affect the way things look or run. It's so it's just almost inert. It's not there. It doesn't do anything. And so I've turned that that number input into a comment, so it's effectively not there. But it's sort of a convenience if I wanted to bring it back in this version. There it is. And then I can take the corresponding code. Here's the code where I get the number out of the box, and I can also correspondingly turn that into a comment. And this is the corresponding JavaScript, so I use a JavaScript comment, which is the // at the beginning of the line. That's the way to make a one-line comment. There's or I could make, since I'm blathering on, let me show that there's a way to make a multi-line comment, and that is to have a slash and a star and then a star and a slash. They make for a multi-line comment. Okay. So I am now rid of the number input, and I want the select. So the name of the element is a select, open select, close select. I'm going to have, again, I could have 1 with all the numbers between 1 and 100. I'm not going, 100 and 999. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to have 3 selects with the digits 0 through 9. And then on the first one, I think I'll take away the 0 option, and that will then I'll be forced to have a number between 100 and 999 by not allowing the first digit to be 0. So I'm going to be coding this select. So I want to give it an ID, select. I use the prefix SEL to remind myself that it's a select, and I'm going to select a digit. So I'll have the name digit, and then I'm going to have 1, 2, and 3 digits. I'll call this 1. So there is the, and then selects have options. Just to save a little bit on typing, I created this list of options over here in Notepad++. Let me copy it and paste, and let me right click and clean up the formatting. Okay. So you put in a select, you are very explicit and say, here are the choices you are allowed to have. Here are the options you're allowed to have. Options have an open option tag and a close option tag. The value is what we will get out of code. So we say, and then what's between open option and close option is what the user will see. In this case, they happen to be the same, but that doesn't have to be the case. I could say, here I could say 0, but have 0. So I could make the user see a 0, but have this as a 0. I don't want to do that, but they're allowed to be different. So there is my 1. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to come back, and I said on my first digit, I'm going to get rid of the 0 option. Copying, and paste, and then this should be digit 2, and this should be digit 3. And then on digit 1, I say I want to take away that choice of 0. And what are we looking like? This is math trick. And I'm on math trick 2 now, so I have to open with the live server. And here is the 3 selects where I'm choosing the digit. I need a break. So I need a break in here. I commented out. My break was part of what I commented out. And I put the break in the wrong place. I wanted the break after all the selects. That's why we look often. All right, enter a 3-digit number, blah, blah, blah. Here are my choices. Now, let's try to recover something I had before. I had a value of 345. And if I want, it's usually just the top choice that the user sees and is sort of almost pre-selected. But if I want to choose something other than the top one, there is an attribute for that called selected. And I think you can just say selected and that is sufficient. But I'm used to having attributes that are have a name and then a value. In a case like that, I'll say selected is selected. So let's get back to my 345. Selected equals selected and 5 down here. Save, look at that. Here's my 345. Okay. So now I have control of the digits. They can only enter these 3 digits, and the first digit cannot be a 0. So I'm getting a number. Once I get those values out of in code, once I get them out, I will be forced to have a number between 100 and 999. And I don't have to worry about negative numbers, and I've just controlled better what the user can do. Okay, so now I have to get, so I took care of the design, the HTML part. Now I have to fix the JavaScript part. I have to get the 3 digits out of the box and put them together. And then I've called them num, so I better then call them num and use that. Okay. So let's say let digit 1 equal, and then we're going to go to the page document. We're getting an element by ID. It's the cell of digit 1, I believe I called it. Let's be good and check. Cell digit 1 was the ID, cell digit 1 with a capital D, and we want its value. So now in code, the select up here in the HTML code, the select doesn't have a value. It's the options that have a value. But down here but they're working as a team. The options are inside the select. So then up down here in code, the value that the user selected from the options will be the value of the select. And it won't be the one. We're not stuck at 345. We're allowed to choose other things. And so whatever the user chose, it starts off at 3, but whatever the user chose will be the value. I need that because of this approach I'm taking 2 more times. And then this should be digit 2 and digit 3. And this should be digit 2 and digit 3. Copy paste is nice, but you must remember to change what you need to change. And then num is a concatenation. Remember, when we get things from the page, they tend to be strings. And so these, and another way to enforce these to be strings is that I put the values in quotes. We'll do, maybe if I remember, I will do a test to see if they're not in quotes, will the digits come in as strings or as I want them to come in strings. So right now I want the quotes because I want them to come in strings, but we should do an experiment to see what they do if I didn't have those quotes. So here is digit 1 plus digit 2 plus digit 3. I've reconstructed the number from the digits, and I should be able to proceed as before. So here's 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, and everything else proceeds as previously. Now, I don't have the clearing anymore, so I have to have clearing. So I have the clearing function clear out, and these selects, each select should call that clear out. And the event associated with a drop-down select is an on change. So before we had an on input, when we had the input of the number type, we said on input, but here it is on change, but it's the same function will do the job. So clear out. Then I need that. I have 3 selects, so I need that for each of them. And the clear out belongs to the select. You don't change the option, you change the select. So that's the thing that has the event and the function associated with the event, what we call the handler. Okay, so let's see again, 3. Then if I change something, and if I change something, okay. Now I wanted to see, I relied here on the fact that the digits were strings, and I sort of forced those strings by having these quotes, but I'm going to change the first option. The 1, 0, and the 0, just to do an experiment. What if I didn't have the quotes? Will those things come in as integers, and will that throw me off? So I want to choose 1, 0, 0, and do the concatenating, and it still was 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, even with these values without the quotes, which makes it look more like a number than a string, I was getting what was brought in was behaving more string-like, as we could see down here in my concatenation. I took 1 and 0 and 0 and got 100, not 1. So they were indeed still acting mostly like strings, and if I wanted them to act as digits, then I would need something like parse float, which we've seen in other videos. Okay, I think that's what I wanted to show you, just this alternative approach to controlling how the user interacts with the page. Gives you a little bit more control over the choices of the user. And well, that's it. All right. Thanks very much for your attention.